personally, I just put it down to she's one of those women that thought she wouldn't get another guy because he was skinny and she was large. And don't fucking tell me that I'm fat shaming. This is a woman that is put away basically for helping murder her child. So don't get on me about that. I never have an attitude like that. I never flick my hair, but today I will. Anyway, when the detectives read the autopsy report to them while they were being investigated, their stories changed immediately. They began placing blame on each other. They were blaming each other back and forth, according to police. Matthew even told investigators that Jessica was the one that did beat her up every single day since the day of birth. It was Jessica that did these things to her. I don't know anymore. So, of course, in retaliation, Jessica stated that Matthew had bipolar disorder and hit both her and Zoey forever. But then Jessica went on to file for divorce. So they're divorced now. A little too late. Absolutely ridiculous. After this, Matthew's attorney asked the court for a psychological evaluation for Matthew to determine if he was not guilty by reason of insanity. Of course he fucking did. I'll never understand this shit. Anyway, shit's me. When people know that they have issues and that they ask for help, they only ask for help after they have done something disgusting and violent to another human being. They only do it to keep themselves out of jail and get into the hospital, be kept by a hospital because it's just so much cushier. They only do this shit to get themselves out. And that's all there is to it. If they knew that there were issues beforehand, why wouldn't you get help? There was nothing stated that he went to get help. Anyway, nevertheless, 2 days into the hospital stay, so that they could check to see if he was able to stand trial, testimony from a guard that was standing by Wagner's hospital room when he was sent in for evaluation. Matthew tried to kill himself with a belt in the toilet of his room by hanging. Of course, as we know, the suicide didn't succeed. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But he did tell the officer or the guard that he wanted to die. Most of us want you to as well. So, but usually I'd be like, oh, wished he had. But sometimes people need to be incarcerated for these kinds of crimes because let's face it, we all know that most inmates, not the protected ones, protected ones are usually the child molesters, inmates feel about anyone on the inside that is there due to child-related charges. I'm hoping he's not having fun in there, and I'm hoping to hell that he is, dropping the soap, basically. That'd be nice. Drop the soap, bitch. On the day of Zoe's death, Matthew was urged repeatedly, not only by friends, this is another testimony that came out and I couldn't believe it, he was, repeatedly told, not by just friends, but even a complete stranger who testified to seek medical help for this child. But then there was another person that had seen baby Zoey in the stroller that day as they walked, and they actually thought she was already dead, even though they begged him to get help. So that baby Zoey could have been dead already. I don't know. Anyway, a nurse came across him when he was walking Zoey in the stroller to a convenience store on May 28th. And she testified that she told him, "You need to seek help for this little girl." But the worst part, this is the worst part. I can't believe how many worst parts there are in this. On his way to that very convenience store where he was seen by the nurse, the arsehole pushed that baby right past Hancock Regional Hospital. Pushed her past to get to the convenience store, but he didn't take this baby in. Did not take her into the emergency room. And he fucking walked past it. He decided to continue towards the convenience store to buy soda. Because that's more important, people. Soda. And he even walked back past the fucking hospital on his way back to the house where he wasn't meant to be. He then told someone else that he wasn't going to get medical attention because of the concerns he had about the bruising on Zoey's face at the time. Even when she stopped breathing, this kid was dead, basically. He would not call 911. No. Instead, he called Jessica and then hung up on her. So, even though he'd called the on the side girlfriend, I don't know, what do you call it? I don't know what kind of person she is, because I do know that she tried to get help for that baby, but I don't know, maybe she didn't do it. But not her kid, so don't want to start a lynch mob. So both Matthew and Jessica have called this friend, the babysitter, Krista Coffin, the woman her husband was also sleeping with on the side, and she asked her to run over to the house and find out what the fuck was going on, because Matthew had hung up and she couldn't get a hold of him again. Now, when Krista reached the house, she told the court that Matthew refused to call 911. She also testified at trial, saying that she pleaded with Matthew to call 911 and get hope for her, but he replied, "I can't." So Krista was the one that called the emergency number using Matthew's phone from the house, but it was already too late. It's too late. Way too late. This baby needed help a long time ago, maybe 12 months ago. But he went on to say at court that apparently Matthew was not solely responsible for Zoey's death, and that he was going to appeal any court decision. Quote from Matthew, "I'm not going to apologise for what I did. I accept neglect and nothing else." End quote. The trial was horrible, to say the least. These poor jurors, they were shown horrific photographs of the extent of baby Zoey's injuries, under the skin, under the head. So, because in an autopsy, they actually usually cut here and they pull the skin back to check for anything underneath. So I'm guessing that because of the bruises and everything to the poor little baby's face, that they've had to pull it back, because there were underneath abrasions that the jurors would have had to have seen. And I tell you, in a jury setting, I would have been an absolute mess. Absolutely. They included the severe bruises all over her back and her buttocks, cuts to her head, and other injuries around her eyes. Matthew went on to say that he did regret neglecting Zoey, but that was it. Let's face it, they only regret it when they know they're going to get locked up for the rest of their lives, don't they? They never regret their actions when the child is still breathing. Nope. Because then the child's still breathing, the child will take another beating, it's fine. Anyway, after he was found guilty, Jeffrey McLaren, Matthew's lawyer, told the judge that his client had been involved with child welfare system from a very young age, and that he had mental health concerns. He probably didn't have much of a chance himself, he states. You can buck right off, mate. I know that it's a defense attorney's job to do these things, and I'm always told that, you know, people have a right to defense and right to a fair trial. But when someone, you know, is guilty for something without a doubt, they don't deserve shit. And they don't deserve fair anything. But, yeah, they can all fuck off. There ain't no damn excuse for what was done here. Greenfield Chief of Police John Jester also stated, "This case in particular has been very taxing on our detectives. Anytime there's a baby's death involved, it's extremely hard." And it would be. It would be. 100%. Because for me, no, it's going to sound really horrible, but when it's a child or an animal, my heart aches. It aches, it bleeds, it because they're innocent. When it's an adult, if they're a bit of a douche, I don't mind going through those cases. But yeah, to be a police officer that's got to walk in on a case where a baby has been tortured would be absolute, well, torture, isn't it? Anyway, when the guilty verdict was received, Matthew was sentenced to 67.5 years. And in the Indiana Department of Corrections. He remains now in the Miami Correctional Facility. His earliest possible release date for this crime is 2064, and he'll be 79. Jessica was set to go to trial separately, just over a month later, I think it was. She then went to the extent of asking for her trial to be moved due to the publicity that was surrounding it, and there was a lot of publicity because it wasn't a big town. She felt that her chances of a fair trial were going to be 0. But in the end, just before the trial was due to start and all of this was being processed, she pled guilty. During Matthew's sentencing hearing, Jessica's sister, Lindsay, Zoey's aunt, read Matthew a letter. And it said, "I am sincerely happy no other children will need to go through this. She will never," and she proceeded to say, Zoey will never have a sweet 16 and never enjoy what you robbed her of her. You're a sick and twisted monster. May God forgive you, because neither me nor my family will ever be able to forgive what you did to that baby.